Hello and welcome to the Beyond the Essential Oil Recipe Summit. I'm Elizabeth Ashley, the Secret Healer, and today I'm very excited to introduce you to Melani Kovac, who in my opinion is genius. Hello Melanie! How are you?
I'm very excited. Thank you for having me and for that amazing introduction.
Well, I do like to push people up a little bit, and I will explain to people why I think that you are a genius. Just you wait till you see this app that she's designed about essential oils, and she has very kindly offered to let you play with for the 2 weeks of the summit. And so today, Melanie's here to show us how it works and how she came up with the idea, and it's going to blow your mind, honestly. So Melanie, introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your background. How did you come to be in this spot today?
Well, my name is Melani Kovac, and my life was very curvy, you can say, and I have a lot of interests. So it was not that I always knew I wanted to do aromatherapy. I did a lot of art, and I did a lot of, I liked math as well. So I went to an art high school, and then I studied computer science. I worked in design as well. And somewhere along that line, I found aromatherapy. I literally smelled it in this store, and then I started reading books and educating myself. So when I got married and moved to another country, I decided, why not, do this thing I really love, and I think it's worthwhile. So I started teaching aromatherapy, because in Slovenia, where I work right now, there was not really aromatherapy. It still doesn't exist as a profession. So I had a lot of work to do, which is great. I like to work. But my IT background was always kind of haunting me, and I wanted to put all this information in one place, systematic, nice and pretty, because design is also something I love. And I knew how much work that would be, because I have the background, as I said. But also here in Slovenia, a company that sells essential oils in pharmacists discovered me, and they wanted me to teach pharmacists. So I said, okay, but how am I going to do this? I don't have enough knowledge. So this happened about 7-8 years ago. So I really started to study chemistry and pharmacology, and got really deep into it. So the more I explored, the more I saw things I wanted to share with my students as well, and things that I wanted to bring together the science and the traditional aromatherapy, because I saw that sometimes they do not come together in my experience. And I was so lucky to be able to work with a lot of different areas of aromatherapists. I work with distillers, I work with scientists, I work with sellers, I work with my students, obviously. I teach at a higher school of learning for cosmetics professionals, so for wellness and cosmetics. So this is all very, very different. And for masseuses, for example, I also made a project for aromatherapy in medical care, where I work with nurses who work in palliative care, and I help them develop that area. So I kind of put all of this into Dropsmith, into my project. I said, okay, I'm going through with it, I'm going to do it, and then it was actually harder than I thought.
Oh, I know that one.
I knew it was not going to be easy, but it's nice and pretty, but yeah, I wanted to make it simple for you, but it was not simple for me, let me tell you.
Well, actually, so what people won't realize until they see it, so it's full of pie charts, isn't it?
Yes, it's chemistry.
You drew by hand.
Yes, I always thought through chemistry, because logic was close to me. I like math. I like things to be systematic, nice, and easy to understand. Something that you can have credit for when you're presenting your work. Because here the pharmacy is very strong, and this kind of thinking where I come from. So I always had to back my choices. So I always thought through chemistry, and I drew little pie charts for my students. Every year, new batches.
Hours.
So I drew hundreds of these pie charts for my students, and I noticed patterns because I would put chemical components into chemical groups. So not only did I discover some things that were or were not really true in the books, but I also found some new patterns that I wanted to share with people. And the only way to share it is to make Dropsmith to give you the opportunity to see different essential oils from different companies and their chemical composition in a nice, pretty, colorful way that you can perhaps grasp it easier. So
so let's take this opportunity to show people what we're talking about. Can you share your screen and get ready, people, because honestly, I can't be candid enough here. You're going to wet yourself. You're going to be so excited. Turn it on. Share your screen.
Okay, so I'm going to switch to my screen so you can see it, okay? Okay, let me see if I still remember. Okay. Okay, so you're seeing it?
I am seeing peppermint.
Yes, this is where it started. So the first
People
thing
will laugh at this because I hate peppermint. Peppermint and rosemary, go for it.
really,
Talk us through it. So yes, people, so people understand what they're looking at.
yes, this is how it started. So when I teach, I always wanted to give as much information as I can about one oil. So I wanted everything to be in one place. So you have the common name, you have the Latin name, you know where it comes from. And this is one thing that I was really keen on, and people told me not to do, to include people who actually exist. And
so why did they tell you not to do that? Because that's almost my favorite part.
Because first of all, it's kind of idealistic, because everything in Dropsmith, a lot of it is based on trust. So who would actually trust me to put their oils in, you know? So just to start, it was very hard, because the bigger companies, you know, they want to see what's happening. They don't really trust you right now. But because I have so many years of working with different distillers and companies, I was lucky enough to have them back me from day one. So, but I really wanted for every essential oil to exist, to show this diversity, you know, because if we had just a genetic essential oils, then I would not really get the point across.
So explain, because I interrupted you, so explain what that is that we're pointing to at the moment for people.
So which peppermint this is?
The PTO, PTO current.
These are my friends from Croatia. You can always see their profile, so I wanted everything to be backed by facts. This is also very important for me, where things come from. So you can always see whose oils they are, and then you can contact them. So, and see what they're doing. So see, they're a really small company, although they do this traditionally. See, this is his family here, and they are wildcrafting most of the things they do, which is really, really interesting. So if we go back to the oil, you see that who is it from, and see they have only yearly batches, so they don't have a batch number, but for bigger companies I wanted batch number to be shown as well. And then you can see where it's actually been distilled, how it was distilled, you know, the cultivation, everything, because these things can be very important when you're working with oils. And then you can notice differences just for this. And for distillers, for example, I wanted them to be able to compare their batches, so then they can see, okay, this one might be better than this one, and why is that? Was it the time of the year? Was it that I distilled the whole plant or just parts of the plant? So this is something I'm very excited about, that in a couple of years we'll have a lot of information that we can compare and then research more. It's all So that's the top part that you're looking at. And then this part is all about essential oils. So this would be about all peppermint essential oils that we found. If it was chemotyped, for example, then it would also be according to chemotype. So for example, for rosemary that you also love.
I do not.
You would have different safety depending on the chemotype. and
Correct.
PAPS application and whatever we found. So properties here are all scientifically based. So if you click on it, you would get the reference. And this was very important for me and for my colleagues, especially because I work in medical care. They need to have scientific research to back what they're doing. And if we found more information here, as you see with the anti-inflammatory, how it worked, we added that in for you. So this way you would save time because you don't have to do it yourself. You would save money because you don't have to buy all these researches, you know, and then go through it until you find the one you actually need. And then you have the whole reference here. You can just copy paste it. How neat is that for all teachers?
And can I clarify something in my own head? Because it's an app, it's dynamic, am I right? So those
Yes.
get updated and grow.
Yes, yes.
So not like a book, not like if I bought a book out, then those references wouldn't grow. This is growing all of the time.
This is constantly growing. I have my, I call them my research ladies. They're wonderful and very, very, you know, exact. They're pharmacists and they know what they're doing because I wanted every part of Dropsmith to be done by a professional. I didn't feel comfortable reading them myself because then how can I evaluate them? So yes, this is growing, and that's another thing I, as a teacher, had a problem with. My scripts would be different every time. You know how that goes, and then they would keep on getting bigger. So I wanted my students just to be able to go to Dropsmith and print it out for themselves, and you know, see the differences. Because my students from last year had so much less properties than the one next year. It was just, you know, I didn't think it was fair. So this is really cool. If you click, for example, antifungal here, you would see which fungi it was tested on. And I don't know, for example, repellent, you would see which mosquitoes is actually worked on, because just because it's a repellent doesn't mean it repels mosquitoes. So I wanted to give you as much information as possible for you to be as exact as possible so you can do really great and effective blends. And also, you know, to use the oils that you have the best way possible. We tend to use the one oil for 1 or 3 things, and then you forget that you can use it for many things. And I showed
they go off, don't they? Oils go off, so you want to be using them as fast as you can.
Yes, and you know, it's respected to the nature as well. You have to really, you know, use them wisely because they're so concentrated. So so this is the properties that are scientifically based, and I showed you peppermint because peppermint has a lot of them done. But for some oils we found none because there's no research yet.
Yes, so that's not, so yes, we clarify then. So the properties aren't based on
scientific research.
Yeah, not based on traditional medicine. That's where we can prove the research.
So this is the traditional. So here in the application, I made it separate. So everyone can choose what they want to look at. So in the application part was also, it is from scientific research as well that we found, but a lot of it is from books from different authors. This is another thing I was very I wanted to include different authors from wellness, from cosmetics, from scientific background again, and then from I have a pharmacist in there who is using it in clinical aromatherapy, and then Madeleine's book, which is a completely different clinical approach. So and we have aromatherapy journals in there as well. And what's wonderful with the journals is they have a lot of hands-on experience. So this is something that's, I think, missing in the scientific world. So I wanted to bring it together. And then you can, for example, what I wanted to see is, let me find one, how much do they come together? And as you see, this is, for all of this I'm clicking is just one author using it for one thing. But if we look for digestive conditions, I guess they should be more. Or nausea, let me find nausea, here it is. So nausea, for example, see, everybody knows that that peppermint is for nausea, but not many people use it for gums. So this other thing I wanted to show is how different people use different approaches, which is wonderful, but let's share them and let's you know, see how that works. And Dropsmith is very young, so I want to encourage people to to go deeper with how they use them and then share their experience. So then we can see what does work, what doesn't work as effective as we thought. And so it's a growing thing, as you said, it's work in progress. It will be never perfect, which is really, really bothering me as a perfectionist, but had to be done.
Oh, I know how to needle you now in the future.
I try to make it as perfect as possible, you know.
It's pretty damn good, kid. Pretty damn good. Talk to us about the safety bit before we move
As
on.
safety, we also reference Tish Sarand and Young's book, and some other books as well, and scientific research.
Yep.
So that's also very interesting how that comes together. And also let me tell you that some oils that are very rare, we do not have safety for them because they're not done. That's another thing I wanted to inspire. For example, scientists and researchers and people who are writing safety as well, to see what is missing, and then perhaps they can pursue that. So as you see, peppermint has a lot of information. So not everything is as impressive. And I also separated up here, it's how essential oils work on the body. And at the bottom here, then you see how they work on the mind, for example, calmness, you know. It's really cool what you can use it for and how people approach it very, very differently. So that's the area about the essential oil. So I think it's really useful that you have it all in one place. And
so
then
that, to me, that would be enough. But now people were getting to the exciting bit, honestly. So show them the donut, Melanie. Show them the donut.
Yeah, this is for most of my beginner students.
Yeah.
But then, you know, this is the chemistry bit that a lot of people are afraid of. But it's nice and colorful and fun and useful. So this is another reason why it had to be for every oil that exists. It is a complete chemical breakdown of this particular essential oil we're looking at. So this is the chemical components put neatly into groups. So if I put it back, we have the typical groups you see in aromatherapy books, but we actually then made subgroups for all of them, and they add up to 80 subgroups, I think we have 80 subgroups.
Amazing.
So you have hydrocarbons and you have monoterpenes, sesquiterpenes, diterpenes, aromatic, and other. So this is for all of them, you know. So for hydrocarbons and alcohols, we usually know that, but for aldehyde, it might be interesting. For ketones, you know, esters, and I wanted to see how that actually works, how much of that is comes together or not. So you might use this way, this might be enough for you, and then you might want to look further about the monoterpenes, for example, or you want to go straight to the chemical components. You know, some people don't bother with the groups.
Just because I know people will have brains like mine that are not as fast as yours. We're going to go on to another screen in a minute. So just note down that in that big red section there, that's your alcohols. In your big blue section, that's your ketones. And so the different color breakdowns are different chemical groups. So remember that for when we go on to another screen. Am I right?
Yes, because then we can compare it. Yes, and it'll be fun.
Exactly right. So show them that.
I will. Chemistry more attractive and useful. We actually we had I put all the properties we found for the chemical components here available for you as well. So this is something that might attract you. So see, for example, peppermint has a lot of menthol. Yep. So then you might you're interested in what menthol can bring to the essential oil, you know, or what it is useful for.
And what, and actually at that point we can say what it's proven to do, what that chemical.
Yes, this is what it's proven to use with scientific articles. And the ones that have arrows, we have research for. The ones that don't, we haven't found, or are we getting to them, because we have, I think, over 4,500 chemical components in there. But to make it easier for you, we added them up here on the properties. So this is something I wanted to point out before we go further. These are the properties of the essential oil when you're using Dropsmith now in the next 2 weeks. And these are the properties of the chemical components found in this particular essential oil. And this is
so
very useful if you have rare oils with a little or no information up here. Then you can finally get some idea how to use it, you know, and for example, for researchers, where to start researching. So here we have all these chemical components that add up to almost 80% that are antibacterial. And if you click on it, of course, you get information to back that up. So not only is peppermint as a synergy of an essential oil found to be antibacterial, but also a lot of chemical components found in the essential oil are antibacterial as well, which is very logical.
Yeah,
so this is done for, yeah, so this is actually for me personally and my nerd friends. I think this is the most exciting part.
Do you? No, that's not the exciting bit for me. This is the beauty of our industry, because we all love different things, don't you? I think that's clever, but no, I probably will never ever use that bit.
Really?
Never
or
use
you
that
will bit. When you start using a rare oil, you'll find no information on them. You'll be stuck here.
I have to let people in on a secret. This is obviously not the first time I've seen this app, and the first time it made me want to cry. It was so beautiful, and I did think this morning, oh, I hope I don't lose that, but I am actually welling up at how beautiful it is again. I just to coin Tim Miller's term, this really is a Roman nerds unite, isn't it? This tool.
It is
so nerdy, but oh my god, it's beautiful.
Thank you. Just for people who use different methods, they have this available as well.
Oh, can I just explain? So later on in the summit, you must listen to Michelle Bardwell's lecture on if Hippocrates was an aromatherapist, it's called, and it's how she uses different chemical groups to help heal different problems in the body, and it's based on Pierre Franchome's work, which falls exactly into method 3. So yes, when you've read that, when you've watched her video, come back to this and use method 3, and my goodness, you're going to just cry. You're going to cry how beautiful it is.
And I also found some people have problems with the methods, but I found that some of my students really like to use them, and it's especially, like you said, in the area of emotion and spiritual part. They tend to have really good results, so I decided to add them, and as long as you're using them to add them up correctly, because, you know, for one, perhaps you can draw it for yourself, but not really. But for blend, you can't really draw these circles on the right place. So for blends as well, you can see it in these 3 methods. So
describe what the 3 methods are.
Oh, I don't think I'm qualified enough.
You made it. Come on, be brave. Well, we don't need to touch on 3, because if people go to Michelle Bardwell's, it'll be very obvious. But what is method 2?
The triangle. You're interested about the triangle. I'm not sure how to pronounce his last name correctly, so I will not try.
It's Philippe's.
Philippe's method. The thing to keep in mind is that it's subjective. But I found it very interesting how he put it into different areas for, you know, how one part works more in the mind, and then this one's, I think, for the emotions, and then mind, and then body down here, and then oils that tend to have a lot of ketones and sesquiterpenes. He says have very spiritual effect, and let me show you that.
Yes.
So so if we come to the catalog, and we can search for different oils here. So let's search for oils that have a lot of ketones and sesquiterpenes, and then you'll see if that actually adds up. So if we look for oils that have a lot of ketones, so let's say they have over, I don't know, 15%, because ketones don't really come in a lot of percentage. And then it automatically narrows it down, but we want sesquiterpenes. So
and he's saying these are the more spiritual oils.
Yes. So look at that.
Look at that.
Isn't that interesting?
They're pretty much all shamanic.
Yeah. So, you know, I'm not saying he's right or wrong. I'm just saying it's very interesting. And I wanted to make a tool available for people to check it out themselves. You know, I wanted things to be as specific as possible. So whatever way you choose, you can go in deeper.
This is my favorite bit. This is my favorite bit.
So you can play
gorgeous. Yeah.
So, but you know, these are the ones that doesn't have to be that combination. So for example, if we look at just at ketones, and this is something I found interesting with ketones.
So these are high keto. Oh,
see, because ketones usually people associate it with rosemary, you know, and
hyssop,
and mints, but actually, and that they activate, but actually. Oils that have a lot of ketones are usually quite calming.
Very, very digestive as well. Look at them all.
Very, yeah.
I know. Do you know? Well, I mean, I'm probably on my own there, but I wouldn't have thought of using ketones for digestive. But yeah.
Yeah. And then the reason I think that ketones as a group got this idea that they activate the mind. If I let down the ketones a little bit more or less, so let's say 5% of ketones, it's because they can come in combination with 1,8-cineol. So let me show you that. And see this is a new thing. It's really cool. If you write in the chemical component, it actually right away shows you which group it's in. So you can see that cineol, 1,8-cineol is actually an oxide and monotropy. And this is really easy when you're studying, when you really don't know what to do with this chemistry. This can help you do that. So if you see for oils that have a lot of ketones, and let's say cineol, then we see that
then you've got the sharp guys. You've got all the bad bites. Although I do love thyme, but all the bad guys on there. Look.
We can lower down the cineol. I think I put it too much. So you can play like this, and then you know, now it's better. And then you can see all these oils have a lot of ketones and cineol as well. And they have a completely different character than the ones we saw just a few minutes ago. Right? So that's what I'm interested in. I'm interested in synergy, and that's why I showed you this part here. See this, the synergy of how actually the chemical components come together. I think that's the next thing we should look at. So what you are interested in is in comparing oils. That's
yeah. This is what I love.
So let me show you the yarrow we talked about. See, this is.
You're hiding a bottle of oil. Show us the bottle of oil. It's purple. Look at that. It's purple.
It's my special purple yarrow.
Whose is that one?
It's this one from TB Aromatics. Claire gave it to me for good luck for Botanica speech. So
nice present.
It's a wonderful special. So this is what I wanted to show my students and then everybody else, obviously, how very, very different oils can be.
So this one on the left, that's Marco's company, isn't it, Godoy?
Marco's, yes.
So Marco talks in another lecture about quality and about how essential oil can change based on where they're growing. And there you can really see it laid out in a pictorial form.
Yes. I wanted to show you a few more. Let me show you what was very interesting ones. Look at this. Thyme. And not only do we have chemotypes, different chemotypes, see, of course we all know about them, but species. A lot of my students have a problem understanding a difference between different species and then chemotypes, and they're not really clear on that. And this is a wonderful way to show them that you really should take time of the day to know what you're using. Because look.
So break that down, because I think that's the common a common misconception that they're the same. So explain why they're not the same.
So right away you can see by color that, you know, their chemistry is completely different, but let me compare a few for you And then you can see also that their safety is different. So we can compare these ones. So these are all Thymus vulgaris, so they are from the same oil, just a different chemotype. But we can also put a different, completely different species as well. For example, wild thyme. So this is how you're gonna compare. You're gonna click here on the oil. You can compare them, you can blend them, and then you can like them as well. So I clicked here and I'm comparing them. It's on this little corner here. And these are the oils I chose. You can change your mind if you want. You can clear all, or let's compare. This is my favorite feature. And not
and mine.
I'm a nerd. I like to compare things.
So just to recap, in case people haven't grasped it, so the different colours we're seeing is the different chemical groups, isn't it? So yes. Lots of red is lots of terpenes, yeah?
So reds are, it's all simple. I made it as simple as possible. So you go over it and tell you what it is. So it's monoterpene alcohols, what you're looking at. These are the phenols. These are the monoterpenes. Here you have some aromatic hydrocarbons. So it's very simple. You can also see it in these different, again, methods, whichever one you like to use. I'm, into pie charts, as you see. So down here, it compares everything. So you can see what it was distilled for, so that might tell you different. So it's from different areas as well. And this is also new. It leaves up, so you can see which one you're looking at. So
I like that.
Yes, yes. So these are the properties from scientific properties we talked about. Again, you can click on it and get the references. And here you can see right away how different they are. So for example, we have research that these ones are antiviral. On this one, we haven't found. This one, we found that it's all of them are antifungal.
So wild thyme doesn't have any proof that it's antimicrobial?
Well, that's a very good question. Of course, it's antimicrobial because they're antibacterial, antifungal. But as I said, my research ladies are very picky, and if it was in the text that it was antimicrobial, they added that as well. But if it was not, then they didn't. So we still have to decide on things like that. Should we add ourselves that it's antimicrobial or not? We didn't want to add anything from our side. We wanted to just give you straight facts, and then you do with them what.
Yeah, it's up to us to interpret.
Yes, but of course it's antimicrobial. I think it's actually, here is a glitch. See, it's in my
it's in the other line. Yeah.
So that's not good. I'm going to fix that by the time this comes out.
Worry not, worry not.
So this is very interesting.
I told you I'd find your weak spot, didn't I?
Oh, I know I'm my weak spot, don't worry. A lot of them, but I'm working on them.
My dad used to have a saying, he used to say, wind them up and watch them go. I do like to do it, find the little weak spot.
I said it on the first 5 minutes, it's not perfect, but
I know, it is so damn near perfect, girl. It's so clever.
We can never actually put nature into bytes, zeros and ones.
No, and
that's more complicated.
No, that's right. And actually, this shows the complexity of it so beautifully.
Yes, that's what I wanted to get across. That there's so much information; it's impossible to keep it in your head. I knew all these charts by heart because I drew them for years, but still, you forget about all the different chemical components that are in there, and then their work, and this is just so much easier. So see here for this chemotype, we have a lot more application, for example, for other ones, and it might be that it's more useful, but it might be that people have not written enough about it. So for example, I think that's the case here because Hymenolol is, I think, so much easier to use than Thymol, but it doesn't have so much information as much as on Thymol. In scientific world, they usually like this one because it's
aggressive, isn't it?
Yeah. So here you can right away see how these different times can be used differently. And this is, for me, the safety can be quite different. Interestingly, here it's not. But for different chemotypes, we do have different safety.
Like basil. Basil has different, lots
Yes,
of different chemotype safeties, doesn't it?
And then, of course, you can play with the chemistry and see how different they're here. And then here it gives you an average of the ones you're looking at.
Just look at that.
Which I thought would be interesting to see. I honestly don't think that we can have an average because each one is individual, and my approach is that we have to look at an individual. But you might be interested, for example, if you're using oils from the same distiller, and then how does their average look like in different years? And I don't know, I just wanted to put it out there if that's something that's useful for you. If you tend to use a comparison, as I do in class, for example, then you can save it here. And I have this, for example, my time comparison, and then I can show it in class when I teach chemotypes, for example. So this is, for me, the most fun part. I don't know about you, but let's, do you want to play with it a little bit more just to show why this
I could do this all day. Honestly, I'm scared to open this when you're not with me because it would be worse than Pinterest, and Pinterest is bad, but this would be worse.
Let me just show you some things that might have fun. For example, salvia.
Look at that. Oh, no, go back to the basil methyl clavicle.
I will come back to basil for you. Okay.
Yes.
But look, for example, this is great for learning.
Yeah, look at that.
So you can see how different species are very, very different, and that really influences, again, their safety and chemistry.
Yeah.
And eucalyptus. This is a good one to look at. You know,
I expected eucalyptus to look more different than that. Actually, there's a trend, isn't there? That's where you get all the...
That's another thing I wanted to show, that how similar some of them are. For example, radiata and globulus and smithy, and this really unique one from Marco as well. So so check that out, and let's look at your basil.
This would be very interesting to look at after people have listened to Michael Scholes' lecture about how to choose when you've got millions and millions of oils in front of you, and then being able to look and say, actually, those two chemotypes are so similar, I really don't need 2 bottles of that.
Yes.
Look at that beautiful picture.
And we're including your books as well.
Are you?
Right now.
Show me.
They're not up there yet because there's so much information.
There is a bit, especially in holy basil.
How you can write a whole book on an oil. I mean, wow.
Coming from you, the amount of information that's in these. And that actually was fascinating to me. You've got basil CT methyl clavicle on. When people kept asking me to write about basil before I started writing the books, and I would look at sweet basil and I'd look at holy basil, and you'd go onto the internet and they would be mixed as if they were the same oil, but even just even energetically they were so different, but their chemistry is phenomenally different. So that was what inspired those 2 books, actually, because I really just wanted to look how different they were. You want Occupum basilicum or just sweet basil, yeah?
I wanted to see if we have any other ones. No, we have just these ones. Because
but they are so different. Look at that.
Yes.
And what was that brownie color?
This is, of course, phenols. So
yeah, and that would be why it's only maximum dilution of 1%. There's your heat.
It's still quite irritating,
Oh yeah, definitely.
But it depends on the oil. We are getting the entering more and more oils every day, actually. So our database is growing daily. So I'm hoping to get a linalool chemotype in there very soon as well. That would be very interesting to compare. But look at this, for example. This is something I like to compare.
The oranges look like oranges.
Yes, they do look like oranges. Look at that. But see, Neroli, a bitter orange, and petite grain, are from the same plant, but very, very different.
Very, very different.
I wanted to actually show you their comparison because it's a lot of fun. Because neroli, as it's a wonderful oil, I love it, but it's very expensive. And my nurses' friends, they usually don't have a lot of money for their, work.
Mm.
And then you can easily see here that you can use different oil for the same thing. So this is something also I wanted to make it available. If you have to watch your expenses, you can use one oil for different things. So
Yeah.
here you can see how you can do that. If you don't have enough money for neroli, perhaps you can use another oil that is cheap.
Yeah.
So it's very cool because they're both, for example, anxiolytic.
It's more than cool.
So I can do this all day.
And I could watch you all day, but people are going to be going, I want it, I want it, I want it. So tell us.
Let me show you this new feature we just added in.
Go.
This is something that I waited for since the beginning. You can search by indication now. So you can just write acne, for example, and it pops up all oils that are associated to it.
Look at that.
Or not only that, but you can go very specific. So for example, if you're looking for a certain mosquito, or you're looking for example, candida. So you are looking for a very specific fungi. If that's something we found in research, then you can search it as well. So this is something that's very useful for my friends that work in medical care. Like Marika is going to have a talk for you as well, right? So
yeah.
I had people like her in mind that don't have time to go through research for themselves, when in fact research is there for them. They're the ones with doing the hands-on work, and they should be having this research very available. So that's why I wanted to include this feature for them to make their life easier.
Do you know what I love about this? As you quite rightly say, people like Marika have got very busy lives. They're dealing with oncology patients. But you could very easily have made a tool that just told them what to do. But the way that you have to use this tool, you have to dynamically use your own brain to think, right, what are the nuances I'm seeing before me in front of that patient. And so all it does is take your skills to the next level. I think it's so clever.
That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to support whatever you're doing. If you're doing it in a spiritual way, do it safely. If you're doing it in a clinical way, then you have to really be extra safe. So I wanted to make it available for everybody. And I work with a lot of new distillers. I love them. For them, I wanted to make it easier for them to see their batches and compare them. And they always ask me about quality, which Marco's going to talk about. And then they can compare it themselves and see what works for them. And I think it's just a win-win for everybody, really. And for the people who were so kind to let me use their books, like yourselves, I think
I'm sure they all feel the same way as I do. It's too exciting to be in.
Reference is something I think that's sometimes missing in this day and age, because you can Google everything and there's a lot of copy and pasting. I think we really need to give credit to these authors and in clear referencing. And then I actually like to put a link to their page instead of Amazon, so that you can check out the author and see what they're doing. And sometimes you like him or you don't. And it's personal. We tend to forget that there is a person behind research and books and things that are written. So that's also I wanted to work on. There's a lot
That's
of
a very nice thing. That is a very nice thing to say, because I'm sure that I speak to all of these, speak for all these authors. There's a massive emotional investment and
yes,
connection.
It's a lot of time to write a book, to go through
and it can, and if you're working with essential oils, it can be very emotional too.
Yes. So so here you can play with the search. You can filter through everything. You can look for a seller. So you like Marco, so here you can click Marco, and then you can see all his oils that we have. There's Marco. Hi. Do check him out. He's an awesome person.
Oh, he really is, isn't he? He's so nice, and so is his wife.
Yes.
Yeah.
do support them, please. Extraction method, that's also something interesting, that you can see how there are like for different oils that are extracted differently, like rose. You also wrote about that. Plant part, this is something I like to play with, to see how oils that are distilled from leaves are alike or not, and then you can check out, I don't know how.
I like that. You hadn't shown me that before, and actually in Marco's talk he made me think about something I hadn't thought about before. He was saying when you choose an oil, think about the sustainability of where it came from on the tree. So for example, the leaves are replenishable, but the root and the bark and the actual wood, potentially you've had to lose a tree to get it.
Yes, and you're actually hurting it. So just be aware what you're doing. Look at this, it's really cool. Look at oils that are distilled from needles.
Oh, look at that. And what's orange again?
Orange are monoterpenes.
Look at that.
Isn't that interesting?
And I always think that I always say this to the kids when we're walking through the forest and I bore them rigid, I always say it's like you see them building needles to keep the plant warm so that they don't have the surface area of a leaf. And so they're built for that kind of medicine. And it looks like you can see it there.
Yes, you can see these things now much easier. So you can, look by origin, whatever. But cultivation, this is also interesting. Odor, some description. Description is subjective. So, but with the odor is how they perceive their oils. And this is my favorite part. You can search by chemical components. Linalool is a very typical one you like to look for because it has a lot of great
anti-inflammatory and antidepressive at the same time.
All of things, yeah, a lot of research on it, so you can search for a certain percentage, and then it's really cool when you see which oils are similar again. Isn't that interesting? All of these have over 25% of linalool.
And actually, just looking at that, when we go to Kelly Ablard's lecture, she's talking about why you can replace hoe wood with rosewood. Look at that. They're almost the same.
Yeah. It's a lot of linalool there. So you can search for one chemical component or one group, or you can mix it up. So for example, you can look for linalool and then for esters. That's something that's a very common combination. See, so all these oils have linalool and esters, or you could have done linalool and linalool acetate if you wanted to go deeper. So depending on where you are with your knowledge, then you play with it as much as you can. You don't have to play video games anymore. You can play with aromatherapy.
I think you might be pitching it a bit high there.
I'm hoping, knowledge is something you want to encourage.
Aim for the sky, I think. Forget ever playing a video game again.
And then you go,
geek out on a ketone. I love it.
Aren't they so much fun? I don't know.
You know what? I get it. I completely get what you're saying, but I think you might be aiming a bit high.
So just so I can show you, we have a lot of time. So this is when you're looking at essential oils, click here. These are blends. This is my attempt of making a community. We're going to work more on this here.
Oh, I forgot about this. I forgot about this. Tell us all about this.
You can also share blends as well. So these blends are shared from people. So for example, I have, this is my colleague that I work with, Maria. So she had shared some really cool blends for a free course. So you can, for example, look at it and see who made the blend. So just make sure you know that these blends are written by people, and then you can check out who she is. And if that's...
And ask her if you can use it and credit her.
Yes, or if it's someone who you think it's qualified enough to write such a thing. That's I'm all big on safety. So if there's a blend you don't think it's appropriate, you can always report it as well. I just wanted to point that out. You can always tell us why you don't like it, why you think it's not appropriate, we should take it off.
Does that happen very often?
No. I wanted to have that as an option. If if somebody puts up something that's not safe or is questionable, that we can address it. So with this is how you look at a blend, but I wanted to show you the catalog first, so you know how to use it. So you have the blends, these are all the essential oils in the database. These are all the blends that are shared in the database. You can also share your blends. So for example, if you have a blend that's really useful, you can share it. You write in a language that you write. So you'll find things from my colleagues that are in Slovenian. I'm sorry.
No, please don't apologize. That's absolutely beautiful.
But you know,
I think that adds to it.
this is a school that is sharing blends, and so their students can actually access them then through Dropsmith. So it's a really cool way of sharing. So this is something also schools can do. These are my favorite blends. So when I click this heart, these are the blends I use, for example, in my class. So this would be like your own. These are the blends you can quickly access. So for example, if you have a wellness or you have your practice and you use 10 or 100 essential oils, you have them here, so you don't have to search for them every time. This is what this was for. And these are my favorite blends, the ones I liked, and then I can access them really quickly. So should I show you how I blend?
Yeah.
So when you look at a blend, it's quite similar to looking at a single essential oil, but it calculates everything. So what Maria did here is she added these 3 essential oils, and then she did it in drops. You could do it in milliliters, grams, whatever. It's up to you. But it actually adds up the ratio as you wrote it. So for example, see here, we have the properties of this blend, and it says 100%. That means that all these oils, we have scientific evidence to back up that they're antibacterial. So with this, I wanted to help you see how to use your blends more efficiently. So
very clever.
Yeah, so this oil, she made it for relaxation, but actually it's a really good blend for antibacterial, antifungal, antioxidants. So it has a lot more use than she thought.
What I like as well is that suddenly, if you're mixing on a physical level, it tells you the emotional effect you're going to get as seeing the physical body.
And vice versa as well. So
clever.
For example, she did a relaxed blend for a diffuser here, but if she did a relaxed blend for an oil, let's say she's a masseuse therapist, then she doesn't have to make a new blend for every client, keeping herself safe to have less oils, different oils on her skin. So she can use this one to relax one client, but for another one she can use for different emotional states, for cramps, for example, you know, to help with anxiety. Look at all these are all 100%. That means that all 3 are used for oily
those main effects. Look at that.
And you would never think of it that these 3 oils would actually be useful for all of these things as well. So this is what I wanted to show you, that how effective your oils and blends are, and give you an idea of how to use them in different different ways to save you, again, money, time, oils, environment, everything, I guess.
Definitely.
To blow your mind, as you say. And this is a very safe blend. That's why I like to show this blend, because safety it's like really safe oils, very effective oils. You don't need all these phenols to kill everything.
And Jade Schutz was saying in her lecture, she was kind of trying to campaign for people using less oils. She was saying, I probably only use about 20 oils. And you can see there how powerfully you could use those 20 oils.
In my experience from my students, when they do their reports, the ones that weren't so effective were the ones that actually used too many oils or lost their purpose.
Really? That's really interesting, because I have to say, I can be guilty of that. I can put shitloads of oils into a blend. That's really interesting.
Because you can really target it if you know what you're doing, if you have a very clear set what you're going to do. Then you don't need a lot of oils, because if you put more, you're probably diluting your effect. And then you can see that here. You know,
I feel like my hand's been slapped.
I'm sorry.
No, it's good.
Just my way. Yours might be.
No, it's good.
You know, less is more. I always like that.
Well, I do say less is more, but I'm always talking about the number of drops you use, not the number of oils. So I should take my own advice, shouldn't I?
But not always. That's another thing. I wanted people to have access to to research to actually read it, because you know, just because it says it's antibacterial doesn't mean it will be effective on a bacteria. It has to be a certain dose, a certain way of using, and you know, so perhaps slowly I will get people to read articles as well. Yeah, I'm very idealistic, as you can see. But this is for me and my fellow nerds. This is the main part. What I wanted to show is how this blend then comes together. And this is for the other talk you said. This is useful if she uses this method.
Yeah.
Then she can see how her blend looks like.
Yeah.
So this is something that's really hard to calculate on your own. And not only does it calculate all these families and essential and chemical components, but again, it adds up the exact ratio of the chemical components that are in the blend, which is for me the most important part. Because then you see that this blend is actually really good for antibacterial, anti-inflammatory, and only down there is it sedative. Yeah. So this would be a great repellent. I mean, who will use this blend for a repellent? You know, you wouldn't really think of it. But it's effective. So just wanted to give you more options, more ideas of what to do with your blends and essential oils. And, you know, then you start respecting them even more.
I hope so. So I know everybody's going to go, first of all, I don't want to watch any videos now. I just want to play on this for 2 weeks, which is good.
Yes, please do.
So tell them how, at the end of that 2 weeks, when you're going to take it away from them, how can they have it back? How can they get it back?
Well, you have down here, when you scroll down here, you have features for aromatherapists. So please do click there, and then you can subscribe. You have the basic free subscription, which is limited because, of course, you have to finance all of this research and things, and IT is very expensive. But you have a monthly and a yearly subscription, so you choose the one you like. And
so what do we get? What do we get extra if we subscribe for the professional one?
These ones are the same ones, just yearly. And when you subscribe for a yearly or a monthly, you get all of this that you saw, plus some things I didn't get to show you yet. And we're always upgrading. So by the time this comes out, we might have some new features there and definitely new oils. So we're growing all the time. Check out our Facebook page because we always have some discounts and things to give away, so you can use that. Am I right in remembering you giving a discount code to the people that buy packages as well from us? Yes, of course.
How much was the discount code? Can you remember?
25%. So you can please do. And if you have any questions, then you write to our support and or on our Facebook, or just get in contact. We put the price as low as possible.
It's tremendous value.
Yes, we thought that if you have enough money for one oil, you'll have enough money for 1 month. So that's kind of our logic.
I like that slogan. Well, darling, well, first of all, thank you so much for letting us use it in the summit. But thank you for the work that you have done on this. It's so beautiful, and I think that it will bring every aromatherapist at work to a whole new level. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. For me, it was most of it was my pleasure.
Yes, I know that feeling. It doesn't feel like work when you love it, does it?
Some really great people, you know, authors, scientists who helped me put this together. A lot of people who just support me in words and hugs, and by sharing posts and being included in our e-course. I mean, it's just tremendous. It's been so wonderful how people have been very supportive of my work. It's otherwise I would have quit a long time ago.
I agree with that. Actually, the community that we work in, they are very good at supporting the people that they love, and I appreciate them for that.
Yes, I just kiss everybody. and distillers and some essential oil companies. I mean, they've been really wonderful. So I hope.
Very good. Well, hopefully this takes your business to a whole new level, because I just think people are going to be so excited when they see it.
Thank you. Me too.
Say bye, Melanie.
Thank you so much for your
Thank
time
you.
and everything.
Bye-bye, darling. Thank
Bye, everybody. Have fun.
you.